Hello, my name is Meerah and I'm a Lorekeeper in one of Yogg-Sothoth's libraries, and today I wanted to give you my thoughts on Black Desert's Land of the Morning Light Part 2, Seoul main questline. I am just literally going to read you my notes, just like I did with the Surindia and the Calpheon videos that I took while playing through it. Huge spoiler warning, as there are specific story bits that I do want to gush about, just like in the Calpheon video. I will try to be as vague as possible, but no promises. So, when I played through this, there was no English voice acting yet, but I usually prefer to hear things in their native languages anyway, so the Korean does not bother me at all. I really enjoyed it. I had grown pretty fond of the English voice actors from Part 1 though, so I will definitely be playing through it again now that the localization has been added. I'll probably play through it on Tamer for reasons that you will hear later. There was at least one cutscene where they just forgot to add subtitles, so I'm not really sure what happened there, as I unfortunately do not know Korean. I will say that the music at the end of each tale was a lot more enjoyable in the original Korean than the English versions. Again, that's just my opinion. We continue to get special dialogue as Wusa, and I assume also as Megu since they're sisters. Since we are half-sisters of the king and Yeonhwa, there's a motherfucking Bridgerton reference that made me scream a little bit. It made me laugh. Much like in Land of the Morning Light Part 1, there's a ton of government corruption, and it makes me feel physically sick as it hits way too close to home for me. Also, much like Land of the Morning Light Part 1, I really enjoyed the story and looked forward to playing each tale. I tried not to binge it as quickly as I did the first part, but was unsuccessful and I finished it in like a day. Much like how we got to see Tamer and Musa's homelands in Land of the Morning Light Part 1, we get to see Hwasun Valley, home of the Maewa, in this one. I'm sure it was very exciting for Maewa mains. We also get a story about the Martial God Tournament and can visit there, which is a name I'm sure Striker and Musa players find very familiar. We get to compete and even see the Shoron Corps. We also got to visit the Jwado School, which is the Wonjin Palace node, the Wudo School, which is the Myeonggyun Hall node, and the Hado School, the Secret Society nodes. And we even find knowledge bits that mention Megu and Wusa at their respective schools. And they get special dialogue from the heads of the schools and even the random NPCs that just are idle in the area, which I thought was so cool as a Wusa. I was so excited. Taihak, which is the ruins of the Songdo School, are also there where Dosa grew up, and that's a location you can visit. We also get to visit Holbon, which is the land of the high clouds, where one of the last remaining villagers tells us a story that eerily lines up with Tamer's backstory, as the old warrior says he smuggled the princess and her nanny into a boat and never saw them again, which leads me to believe that this is the fallen kingdom that Tamer is the princess of. They even mentioned that she escaped to Haemo Island, which literally just confirms it, because that's where Tamer has her unique questline and where she grew up and everything. Tamer was the first class I ever played in Black Desert, as many of you might know, and I still have that character, so I will be running her through Land of the Morning Light just to see. I would be lying if I said my heart didn't beat out of my chest during the Bulgasul questline. It was so cool, and I might have cried at the end of the General Biwan fight, because he says that his final wish is to see the princess again with his own eyes, and I'm wondering if we play through that on Tamer, do you think he gets his wish? Is there a unique dialogue? I need to know. Tamer and her story have a really special place in my heart, so I will be replaying that, and if there is a thing, I will probably make an update video for it. As always, when I get to experience a new region in Black Desert, the knowledge hunting is one of my favorite activities, and boy, it did not disappoint. I will say that there are a few NPCs that will not show up until after you have finished the main story questline and completed the Rolekeeper questline. So if you see the question marks on the map and you're like, where are they? You have to finish the quests first. That drove me a little crazy too, so I'm just letting you guys know, spare you some headache. Finish the quest first, they'll show up. They also finally added an Imperial Delivery and Imperial Fishing NPCs to Land of the Morning Light. They're located in Nampo's Moodle Village. Now, if they would only add some horse spawns, I would literally never have to go to the mainland. The Blue-Clad Youth Trial. Let's talk about it, because it made me rage a little, not gonna lie. The Fox Trial makes sense. You stand in the damage cones, and whichever one doesn't actually take your health down is the one that you kill. The flame in the box one is pretty simple. Just don't step in the flames, walk directly to the box and stand on top of it. And the balancing moon and sun one is pretty easy. You just need to keep the shiny orb in the green circle by hitting the sun and moon orbs an equal amount of times. But the fucking blue orb purification phase is infuriating as a Wusa. I don't know how it is on other classes. I played this on a Wusa. I honestly have no idea how I passed it. I died a bunch and just kept trying until I finally passed it, but it made me want to scream because it did not make any sense at all to me. I did not really enjoy this particular tale just because of how annoying and confusing the mechanics are. The story part of it was good. I enjoyed it, but the mechanics were just so frustrating and confusing that it took the enjoyment away. Anyway, moving on. The climax of all the tales has this really great moment where all of our friends that we helped in Land of the Morning Light Part 1 show up to help us, and it was pretty epic, which is a word I don't use very frequently. If you play Wusa or Myeonggyun, you also get some really awesome special dialogue at the end from the new king, and from all of the NPCs. They all refer to you differently after MSQ, and I don't want to spoil it, but it's really freaking cool. If you play Wusa or Myeonggyun, I implore you to play through this questline because, yeah, we get a lot of special attention because of our relation to the royal family. I do plan to replay this with the English voice acting on Tamer to see if there's any special quest or anything for her in Habon, because she got one on Haemo Island, and I also want to re-experience it with the English voice acting because I really enjoy them in Land of the Morning Light Part 1. Anyway, these were just my thoughts. Sorry this is so long. Thank you so much for being here, for hanging out with me, for listening to me ramble, and I hope to see you next time here in the library.